Hi there, Dave Keller here with Market Misbehavior. I love to ask interviewees what their one chart is. That is, if you had one chart, beside a chart of the S&P 500 as a market tell or as a way of identifying the overall market environment, what would it be and why? And that's led me to uncover some really interesting charts over the years. Today, I'll share with you what my chart, one chart is today on October 3rd, 2019. It's a chart of the relative strength of semiconductors versus the S&P 500. Now, semiconductors are an interesting group to follow because they tend to mirror the overall market environment, meaning they tend to do pretty well in a bullish phase of the market. They tend to do poorly in a bearish phase of the market. So by watching the relative strength, you can get a good sense of whether a key leading group is doing well or not and make some assumptions that way. To put another way, it's difficult for the market to do well when semiconductors are underperforming because it's one of those groups that just tends to be on the bullish side of the ledger. So what's interesting here is we're looking at a simple ratio of semiconductors versus the S&P. When this is going up, that means semiconductors are outperforming. When the line's going down, they're underperforming the S&P. So over the last week or so, as the market overall has started to correct, started to pull back a little bit, we're seeing a lot of weakness and a lot of individual charts as things start to break down through support. Look at how the relative strength of semiconductors has actually held up really, really well. So while a lot of the data I'm looking at, from market breadth to big picture Dow theory and things are starting to look sort of neutral to negative, the relative strength of semiconductors actually says the market's doing just fine from this one perspective. So the lesson here, I think, is, for me, I look at a lot of different charts and I try to paint the overall mosaic of what I'm seeing. And for me, the weight of the evidence is more cautious than more positive. But I love to follow charts that disagree with that thesis or would potentially invalidate that thesis. So for this specific chart, if I would see the relative strength break above the trend line that I've drawn using the highs from April and July, maybe even make a new relative high for the year, that would suggest to me that the market's not looking as bad as I might think it is if a group like semiconductors is holding up okay. I hope this was helpful. This is my one chart for October 3rd, 2019. Thank you.